Yo, what they do is Homie the Mac Badass, aka Mac Millionaire. I'm back with another video about some money stuff. Like for me, I like to talk money because I don't have a lot of it. So I figure if I keep talking about it, eventually I'm gonna meet some people to put me in some positions to maybe make some money that I don't have now. So as you can see, if you look at my little bummy t-shirt, every time y'all see me, I'm wearing the same outfits. I'm a little bummy. Sometimes I get dressed up, sometimes. But for the most part, if you see me on the everyday, like I'm Mark Zuckerberg with it. I wear like the same outfits. So I'm bummy. Sometimes I don't have a haircut. Sometimes I do. Today I just so happen to kind of have a haircut. So on this channel, I like to talk about business. I like to talk about hip hop, urban stuff. And yeah, so we're gonna get into it. On this reaction, we talking about the Joe Budden podcast moving from Spotify, which was like a $30 million deal, to Patreon. So if you're not familiar, because I'm not as familiar, but I will kind of put it out there. I believe Joe Budden had like a $30 million deal with Spotify to have his podcast exclusively on Spotify. It'll drop there, then clips will like drop on YouTube days after, then it'll finally go on YouTube. That was like Spotify's play. Their play was, we're going to invest in podcasts, because they did the same thing with Joe Rogan. They dropped $100 million bag on Joe Rogan. They dropped a $30 million bag on Joe Budden. Maybe if your name is Joe, you can get a bag. I don't know. I think that's how that go. I don't know. And that was their whole play. We're going to corner the podcast market, right? So at some point, Joe Budden and Spotify fall out. He goes on a rant for like a whole month about how stuff ain't right. I want ownership. I want to own my stuff. Some. I don't know. I heard it. I'm not the brightest, so I don't know. It kind of flew over my head. I don't know. So out of nowhere, boom. They got a cash out sponsorship, and now they're joining Patreon. Like a lot of other YouTubers and a lot of other, Patreon is OnlyFans before OnlyFans. I don't even see the difference between OnlyFans and Patreon. I feel like it just so happened the sex workers went to OnlyFans because they could have been on Patreon. I don't see the difference. So we're gonna look at this video right now. It's the Patreon CEO on why Joe Budden is joining Patreon. I can tell you why he's joining Patreon, because you can make a lot of money on Patreon. If you don't know, Patreon is a service in which you can subscribe to a person, a podcast, something. You'll pay something a month, like $5 a month. You have exclusive access to certain media or certain content, and you'll get charged every month to have access to that. So you think about it, 1,000 people times $5, $5,000, I don't know. If you got some influence, you could really make that. So let's get into it. He looks very excited. He has a beard like I. He seems to be a smart guy. What'd you say? Yeah. What you gotta say? Hold on, let's see.
To Patreon. He's doing live show pre-sales, bonus episodes of the podcast just for his members, a members-only community, and a bunch of other cool stuff for his fans. Here's what happened.
Well, so just starting out, if you listen to what he said, everything is going to be extra, right? So in addition to, and one thing I just noticed is that a lot of people, they try to leave YouTube because YouTube does not pay, or Google does not pay the most money for ads, or pay out the most to the content creators. They do pay out some, so you can get rich doing YouTube, but it's just not a lot. I mean, just like any other streaming platform. So what some people have been trying to do, like Spotify, is to move people off the platform in its entirety. The only problem with that is that YouTube is a huge promotional platform. There's a lot of people on YouTube. So if you take you can think that you're hot, right? You can be like, oh man, we got 100 million listeners. People love us, which might be the case. But I promise you, the second you take that motherfucker off of YouTube, you probably will lose like a third of your listenership, because a lot of people are viewing that content because it's on YouTube. So that's pretty smart. So like let's not take the podcast off of YouTube. Let's just do some extra shit that you could pay $10 for. If you got it, I ain't got it. I got this old t-shirt. I ain't got $10.
Joe had a deal with Spotify to distribute his podcast, but in September of last year, he announced that he was leaving that deal and leaving Spotify.
September 23rd, This podcast, new episodes of this podcast will no longer be available on Spotify exclusively.
And essentially what happened was he and Spotify couldn't come to an agreement about how much the show was worth.
Couldn't come to an agreement. Yeah, that's light. Hey, Joe was swinging verbal blows at their ass for like a month.
Fam,
like
the
a whole
guard is
month.
changing, and creators have the leverage. And if y'all not
Hey, boy, you fly as fuck. Boy, how cold is it in the house? Where can I buy one of them black ass fur coat? What is that, Gucci? Is that Prada?
gonna treat us accordingly,
Shit, I be walking around Florida in the fur coat, with a black fur coat, nigga with the scully. Hey,
we're gonna go and make our own decisions,
that's some rich nigga shit. That's some rich nigga shit right there.
do our own thing.
In Joe's words,
Everybody's not looking to feed the soil. Some are just looking to take the fruit.
and this is indicative of a
That's why I don't like deep rap. I like, hey, let me keep me to my trap rappers, to my trick daddies, my mumble rappers. I can't understand metaphors and all that. Oh my God.
larger problem. This isn't just one deal. This isn't just Spotify. This is about tech companies paying creators the minimum amount that they can get away with instead of what creators are actually worth in the world. Creators are uploading billions of hours of stories and photography and music and videos and creativity and energy to these platforms, and they're getting paid a fraction of what they're worth.
That is a huge fact. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna tell y'all. But everybody know. I don't know. Back in my day, when I graduated high school, it was 2005, and we had MySpace. You know, and I say that to say this: most of these tech companies that have started within my generation are fueled by content created by other people. Like, I don't know, I could be wrong, y'all stop me if I'm wrong. But Google don't make content. Facebook don't make content. Well, I mean, Netflix buys content and say they made it. Amazon, same deal. Like, most of these huge tech companies don't actually produce anything. They're actually driven by user content. So what he's saying is absolutely true. Like, they build their backs off of the user base, and content that came either free or very, very, very cheap, and they made a lot of money off of it. And now in 2021, or at least in the past couple of years, you kind of do see creators trying to take more control and earn more income and revenue from the content that they create. And something like Patreon is ideal for that. You know, you can set the price. Your users can set whether or not they want to pay it. I'm pretty sure Patreon takes a fee, but for them to have so much of a user base, I would doubt it's some huge fee. So I totally agree with that.
Some of these platforms is gonna have to get used to a whole community of people upping and leaving. Or you're just gonna have to acknowledge who exactly is raising the market share around certain places.
So when Patreon read the news about Joe and his podcast, our team called him up. This story is all too familiar to us. I ended up spending an hour on the phone with Joe. And what I learned was Joe comes from hip hop and Def Jam, and I come from YouTube and indie rock. But
Same thing.
we were telling each other the same fucking stories. We were telling each other the core of this experience of making something that resonates with millions of people and then getting undervalued by the platforms that we're using to distribute our work.
Right, like I really, you know, I don't know though. I'm not I haven't spoken to everybody in the world. I haven't seen every user case in the world, but it seems as though when content creators since the beginning of the time have not been getting no goddamn money. Somebody write the song, make all the money. Somebody performs the song, makes no money. The record company made more money than both the motherfuckers. So from what I can see, from what we've seen, content creators have always kind of received the end of the stick. Or the short end of the stick. So
Don't ask me why Patreon is happening now. Go check your payouts on your streams.
So not only is Joe bringing his podcast and the Joe Budden Network.
Bro, I ain't never received a dime. I listen. I started Google in 2008 or something like that with ads on my website. You used to have to reach $100 before they ever pay you out. I still have not gotten to $100. So Joe, when I get my 100, show me where to get one of them gooses or whatever you had on. You feel me?
To Patreon. But we also made him an advisor. We gave him equity, stock in the company itself.
I want to celebrate this because it is huge. It is huge.
I mean, that's cool. I don't know. I mean, that's not ownership. I guess you own some stock. That's better than where he came from. I mean, sometimes it's, you know, for some people can appreciate not a static number. Some people can appreciate a variable payout. You know what I mean? So having stock options is a variable payout, and it's not just, you know, one check. So I mean, if you help the company grow, you will grow. So I don't think that's technically ownership per se. I mean, you still don't have as much say as he probably would like, but I mean, it's better than the previous deal if you're the type of person who wants to have a variable income, or, you know. But one thing I would say I noticed about Joe Budden is that he seems to kind of go left with everything he touches. You know what I mean? If he makes a deal with Complex, it's going to go left. If he made a deal with Spotify, it went left. So now he's making a deal with Patreon. We're going to see what happens, I guess. I don't know.
We want to partner more tightly with Joe to help us close the gap.
Right, but I do think partnering with Joe in that certain space is actually good for their product, because it's gonna bring other podcasters or whoever who kind of hangs around that aura, or people they haven't not reached to, like, I don't know, maybe like urban markets or more professional podcast. I don't know, but I do think partnering with him is actually a great look for the company.
Between what creators are worth and what they're paid. Joe's gonna,
especially since he ran it so much on content creators getting paid, and that's what they're all about. So
let's think through that problem, brainstorm that problem, and he's also gonna help us shout it from the rooftops when we've got announcements.
This nigga said, shout it from the rooftops
about our progress.
For so long, I've been dying to come in here and like talk to the podcast community about all the different steps you have to navigate to like kind of get to kind of like land in the right place, like all the no's that have to come before you get the yes.
Right.
So that's it. The Joe Budden Network's coming to Patreon. Joe is an official advisor to the company as head of creator equity.
Hey, listen, Joe, don't let them sell you on no goddamn title now. They like to give niggas titles. It's a lot of rappers who had record companies under their own record company, and that ain't no real record company. It's a lot of people who got what they call them, imprints. Imprints. It's not a company. It's a logo on the back of the CD. Even Lil Wayne was president of Cash Money Records at a certain point in time, and he don't wear no suits because he ain't trying to be a president. And never since the dope drop, them niggas been on that hit job. So yeah, man. Hey, that was the video. If you like me talking about this money shit, you know what I'm saying, let me know. I know I didn't say anything with particular numbers, but this is my opinion on certain things. I think moving to Patreon is a great look. I think you probably could have got a bigger bag from Spotify, because Spotify seemed like they ain't really know what they was doing, and it seems like their bet is not necessarily paying off. So they probably were overpaying people. Not to say that y'all was being overpaid, but I feel as though that's what they were doing over there. So you might could have finessed a little bit more over there. I don't know, but I'm all for taking your product and taking your career into your own hands and just betting on yourself. So I'm gonna still watch the Joe Budden podcast. I'm gonna check the Patreon out too. I might sign up. I'm gonna let y'all know. But yeah, man, my name is Mac. On Instagram at I am MacTheDJ. Visit my website, MacTheDJ.com. Drop a comment, like, subscribe. I always wanted to say, like, comment, subscribe. I'm a YouTuber. My mama YouTuber, I made it. All right, man, I'm going to holler at y'all next time. It's Mac.